What's up, everybody? It's episode 21 of Beers in the Lot. We talked about a lot of fun stuff in this episode. We recorded while we were watching the gold medal game for the World Junior Championships, so we talked about that a fair bit. Even talked about some of the players that are playing right now and how they're probably going to transition into their new NHL teams and how they might benefit from some of the veterans that they're going to be playing with. We also talked about the cap and contract situation that's going on out on Long Island. And we looked into how the Islanders are faring in the off season. And we touched a little bit on some of our draft picks for our Beers in the Lot fantasy draft and some of the fun rules that we had to try to spice that up. I think you guys are going to enjoy this episode. It was a lot of fun to record. So let's get to it.
All right. Does anybody have anything else to say on the draft? Good job, team.
No, I think now that the draft is over, I think we need to crack these beers.
Yes, please.
I hope everybody has a American beer today.
Yes.
Considering what's going on.
You better.
You know, this Canadian stuff.
That's some good advice.
What are you drinking, Aaron?
I am going back to the Flying Dog Well, and I have a Vicious Hook again. The sour.
Very nice.
I like them.
So you didn't end up making your beer run then?
I did not. What are you drinking, John?
I also went back to the well, the Stone and Modern Times collab Wizard and Gargoyles, the hazy coffee IPA, which I like. And I also like the can art as well.
Hey, it'll keep you up for tonight's game.
Yeah, I need to. I mean, especially after last night, because I was up watching that like a madman. What about you, Daniel?
I got a Pseudo Sue Pale Ale from Toppling Goliath Brewing. And it's pretty good.
Very nice.
Hey, Riggs, what do you got tonight?
The old standby, Snake Dog from
House
Flying
beer.
Dog.
House beer.
Yep, the Rigsby House Beer.
Yes.
Mother's milk.
So we're looking pretty good right now for the USA-Canada game.
Yeah, we got like a minute left here in the
1-0
first.
USA towards the end of the first here. How do you guys feel about the game so far?
So Canada and USA, the two top teams in the tournament, a lot of people at the beginning predicted that they would meet in the gold medal game. USA, I would say, had a tougher path since we started against Russia and didn't play well. It was our first game. Canada, I don't think they really have had a team that stood against them in a good way. I think maybe for spurts, they've had a little bit of adversity and a little bit of struggle, but for the most part, they haven't had any issues with any of the teams they've played. They've had a fairly easy schedule. I hate saying that, but I'll say it. They're Canadians. And they pummeled the Russians yesterday, so that's always good.
I think with Canada, with all of those, like the line right now on TV and all the media and everything is, there are only two kids on that team that are not first-round draft picks in the NHL. Maybe they need more guys that weren't first-round draft picks. Maybe they need more second and third-round guys that had to work a little bit to get what they want. I don't know. Like, I feel like, and I told you guys before we started recording that going into this game, it felt a lot like the 2010 World Juniors when U.S. and Canada met in the gold medal game, and it was a very tight affair. And the Canadian team had a ton of talent, just like this team does. It was very much considered one of the top 5 Canadian World Junior teams or whatever. And the Americans are good too. They're not as good. They're not as talented, but I feel like they have to work. They have to put the effort in. And I think in hockey, if you're putting that effort in and you have to work, you have a chance, no matter how much skill and talent is on the other side of the ice. Now, in general, the team with the most talent getting off the bus is going to win. But in these situations, single game elimination, maybe the team that has to work harder sees more success. Who knows, man?
Well, especially to Canada, like I was kind of saying, you touched on it as well. Like they didn't really have to battle their way to this point. It was almost when they figured out the roster and handed it into the IIHF. They didn't have it penned in, but I'm willing to bet that pencil was pretty thick on the gold medal date and time. It was almost a foregone conclusion that this team would be there. The one thing that is surprising, where you mentioned they have all this top end talent, Levi, their starting goalie, he was a 7th round draft pick. And then he's connected to Spencer Knight, Team USA goalie, because they're both Florida Panthers prospects. But I mean, if Devin Levi is not, a top flight goaltending prospect, not to discredit him. He's played spectacular in the tournament, but I don't really think he's had to work kind of like Spencer Knight has. So He's gotten a little bit of the workload. Yes, totally. But in terms of what USA has seen, they've seen a little more. So
how much do you think it hurts them not having Kirby Dack?
I don't think it's hurt them at all. If you look at where they're at.
They haven't.
Yeah. Up until now, I guess, right?
The line all day and yesterday was Canada hasn't allowed an even strength goal against. They haven't allowed a 5v5 goal against. When you're in a playoff situation, if you're taking care of your even strength game and then you're dangerous on the power play and you're taking care of your business on penalty kill, like you're going to win. You're going to win some championships. That's how it works.
Correct me if I'm wrong. USA just scored a goal 5-on-5, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
They did. And that's a huge deal. And that's the first, they had to score first in this game too. So that's a huge, huge deal for them.
Another thing too, you guys were talking about how Canada might not have had to work quite as much. I said it last game, but man, against Finland, USA was winning every single board battle. Every time the puck went to the boards, USA was coming away with it. That's gritty, outwork 'em hockey. And I think you guys are absolutely right. That's going to be a pain in Canada's ass for this game.
And think about it too. Finland's really scrappy. They made a really good game, even though they got dominated almost in every team category. They just needed a few chances to kind of get back in it, maybe a medal lapse or two. That's all it really was. And still, what was the nickname? Artie Party they were giving him for Kaliev. Like,
right.
They made a great play off a bumper, kind of that bumper from the wall into the middle of the ice, and it was gone. And it was an NHL level shot. I mean, it was really quick. It was barely on his stick, which is great. But
remind me who made the pass to him on that?
It was Zegras, I think, wasn't it?
Was it Zegras?
Yes.
Because I think he made a play. I think he made a play before that where he was up on the boards, and the player kind of thought he was going to keep going up the boards, and he just made this sweet cutback, cut right back down the boards. Kind of going back to what Aaron said about the board battles and stuff, just playing on the boards hard and then bumping it out to the middle. I think we've seen that a couple times last game with USA.
Yeah, they got some big guys in the middle, to keep them out of the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So if the game has to be played on the walls and playing on the walls is your strong point, then you're going to do well.
So tonight we actually did our first ever Beers in the Lot fantasy draft, which was awesome. We did it really quick. We didn't record it for obvious reasons. It's kind of boring, and some people don't know that certain players are taken like 8 rounds ahead. So yeah, but
that's every draft. Unless it's online. You can't click on the players.
And there's always somebody that drafts somebody from they retired 8 years ago or something like that. So shock no one. Yeah, Guy Lafleur. Yeah, they're naming different sports and stuff. So I'll go over just a little sample of some of the rules we had. So round 1, starting goalie, who we ideally would like to see as our starting goalie. Round 2 was a defenseman from your goalie pick from round 1. So if you went with Vegas, you had to pick a defenseman from Vegas, Tampa D-man, Vancouver, Colorado, etc. Round 4 was a rookie. We had to pick a Swiss national player. Had some free picks, obviously, in there because we didn't want to leave a lot of good players on the board. We have smaller rosters and whatnot. But Eric, Can you give us a rundown of maybe 2 or 3 players you were really excited to grab?
Well, for my rookie, I was really excited to get Quentin Byfield just because, we're watching World Juniors and we're getting to see these kids play. And I like the way that he plays. Natural centerman. Hopefully, he sticks, I guess, with the Kings. So, we'll see. But I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's been really fun to watch in the World Juniors. Danny, what about you?
I was actually really happy to get Kyle McCarr with my Grubauer pick in the first round. So I think he was one of the players I always love watching him. So to be able to root for the Avalanche coming up will be nice. So I'll have a reason to watch their games.
Aaron, you?
Same sort of thing, actually. I picked up a couple guys from the West that I don't normally pay attention to their teams that much. So I picked up Rantanen off the Avs. So
that's a good pick.
Gonna have to be an Avs fan here for a little bit too, which is great. And I like Eric. Eric got one of the guys from World Juniors. I got Zegras for my rookie pick.
Yes.
So he's been just amazing to watch on USA teams. So I'm excited to see what he does in the NHL. Yeah, this is gonna be fun, especially with these interesting rules, or you gotta like pick somebody from a California team or whatever. Like this, it definitely makes it a little more interesting.
Oh, definitely. I also got a player from World Juniors, Tim Stützle from Team Germany. We all really enjoyed. We were talking about him over group text during the games, just watching him play and how he was really rugged. And I think that's going to translate for a young Ottawa team that's looking to kind of do some damage in that Canadian division. The only person that didn't pick a player in the World Junior tournament was Daniel. He went with Alexis Lafreniere in New York.
Yes.
And he obviously declined to go to World Juniors because he's most likely, I would imagine, going to play for the Rangers this year, without a doubt. Yeah. So some other, just looking at kind of the draft list, I thought it was interesting. Eric looks like he has a few Leafs on his team. That should be interesting. Daniel went with Brent Burns, even though he constantly says that he dislikes him in our group chat.
Hey, he just got a speaking spot on Vikings, the TV show.
He did.
Yeah, I saw
that.
So that's why he's just looked like a dirt merchant for the last couple of years. He's been planning to get a TV gig on Vikings. It's kind of cool too, especially now that we're talking with the NHL's coming back. World Juniors essentially happened at the same time. So it almost does feel like a normal year for us, even though we're still living in COVID times. It's kind of cool. The NHL starting back up. There's a lot of hockey around this time of year, which is great. And it's interesting to hear what some of the players did with all their off time. There's a lot of teams that kind of release some of the stats. I saw some players even grew a few inches, which is kind of weird because I don't know how some of these guys that are 28, 29 grew an inch or two. Weight, totally understand, but some of the height variations, I'm kind of jealous. I wish I could steal an inch or two every now and then.
Yeah, I think the World Juniors came at a good time though, because it's definitely getting me excited for the upcoming season.
Absolutely.
Great lead into the season, which is what, like next week, the 15th. It's 10
yes.
away.
Yeah.
Yep. There's going to be a ton of hockey. It'll be Women's Pro League, NHL, NCAA, and Canadian Juniors starts, or at least the other part of it. They start February, hopefully, if everything kind of pans out. I'm hoping.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Because they came out and said that they want to have the Memorial Cup, and I'm using air quotes to some extent because they still don't know. They want to award that by late June, and they're still going to have to do modified CHL playoffs, which should be interesting. Yeah, lots of hockey for everybody to finally consume after not having some for a while.
Oh, Aaron. So I learned in looking up Zegras, he's actually on Anaheim, so he's probably the best Anaheim player.
He's on. Well, he's
minus Bishop.
He's invited to training camp, so depending on what happens,
yeah, he'll get on.
He'll
After this tournament, shit.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, he's a
This
middle
is his
six.
camp.
He's a middle six player on that team.
Yeah. Right now.
Easily right
Mhm.
now.
And actually, having Getzlaff there, that will help him.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Getzlaff is like a perfect guy to almost model. Because Getzlaff is sick. He distributes the puck really well, but he passes really well. I mean, yeah, he's past his prime.
Was. Yeah, was.
But I don't care what anyone says. Like, you do need guys like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, you need guys to show the way, right? You need those veteran guys that kind of show you like how to live day to day, everyday life.
And it's also a mental
as a
thing,
pro,
too.
right?
I think they help more, not like, hey, you should eat this or that. I think it's more like, hey man, you have a shitty game. You gotta detach.
Right. You gotta show up tomorrow. You gotta show up to
Yep.
practice tomorrow morning, figure it out, you
Yep.
know, and next game, next day, like let's go. Get ready.
Calm down the nerves a little bit.
Yeah. And especially to like
it's a
Getzlaff,
long season.
Like a Getzlaff, like I put him in like that upper echelon of like good fucking old players.
Mm-hmm.
And he was good in his prime. Like in his prime, he was sick. Like to train, like to be there. I'm not saying who's a player that like kind of did that, but like sucks.
Like who not to be a role model?
No, I wouldn't say role model, but like, all right. So Getzlaff was a star. He's training the next star. But
Gotcha.
like, there's no one in Ottawa necessarily to help like Stützle and Tkachuk really. They're like,
they're on their own, right?
They're on their own.
Is Bobby Ryan gone?
He's in Detroit.
Yeah,
he's in Detroit now.
Yeah, and really,
I think it's all a young team, right?
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I don't know a player that I can think of outside of like Ottawa. I can't even think of another team that really like right now.
Well, I'll while you think about it, I remember something that happened early on in Crosby's career where they even talked about it on the broadcast where Crosby got goaded into taking a penalty. They were playing the Devils, and it was Kovalchuk. Kovalchuk goaded him into taking a penalty.
I remember this.
And then they scored. Kovalchuk scored.
And he taunted him,
went
right?
straight to the box and pointed at Crosby and was like, that's why you don't do that or whatever. And they talked about it on the broadcast. It's like, that is a lesson to a young NHL player that you need to let emotions go sometimes and not play that game or whatever.
What year? Hold on a second.
This is a long time ago.
No. What year was Kovalchuk on?
Was that the Devils or was that Thrashers?
Yeah, it had
might
to
have
be
been
Thrashers.
the Thrashers.
It had to be Thrashers.
Because if it was the Devils,
Pittsburgh already got their cup.
Sid was
Sid
well
was
into his career. He had the C for a long time.
It was the Thrash. You're right.
Okay.
I think I think it was with the Thrashers.
But even, I would say I think that's why the Caps kind of early on, they had Jeff Halpern and Mike Knuble later on to kind of show. I think that was kind of, they knew Ovechkin was a star. It was more of a work ethic thing. Like, hey, we're going to put these guys around you, show you to work.
All that stuff's bullshit. All right. No, here's the thing. That's all bullshit. That guy, Ovechkin.
He busts his fucking ass.
No, how many head coaches have they gone through? He's been there.
5, 6.
All right, so let's see.
7.
Glenn Hamlin.
7.
Hold on, let's do it.
Every time one of these assholes comes in to be a head coach, what do? Oh, we have to change how we're going to play because we're going to play my way, right? So he changes the way he's going to play every fucking time. And he still puts up goals. So you could put all that work ethic and coaching and all that other stuff. It doesn't fucking matter. That guy was going to score 50 goals a year, every year for a long time, regardless of what team he was on.
Yeah, I agree.
But
did you see what Peter Laviolette said? He said, we need to play more straight lines and all this other nonsense.
Okay, let's talk. All right, let's talk about that.
I don't agree with that.
You want to play in straight lines on a team that has an aging core? No, that's not how you're going to play. Straight lines means that you have a young core that can still skate fast,
speed,
and skate off the rush, score off the rush, I don't know what he thinks he's doing, but it's not going to work.
I think the Caps and Pens very similar in their roster composition at this point in the game. If their coaching staff, and I do know Mike Sullivan says it, Peter Laviolette, after what he said the last couple of days, it makes me scratch my head. And I think any coach in 2020 NHL needs to take a page out of Tampa's book, where John Cooper essentially just says, if we don't have the puck, we need to get it back and hold on to it for the entire game. Because you want the puck, and that's the only way you're going to score. But when Eric, you and I have mentioned it 100 times, when you don't have the puck, or when you have the puck, the other team can't score also. So
that's right.
That you want the puck. That is the most valuable thing on the ice.
Yeah, but there's different ways to get it, right? And there's different ways to keep it. And somebody like Laviolette coming into a team that has an established core, an aging core, and saying, oh, we're gonna play north-south, straight lines, whatever. He doesn't understand the personnel that he has. It's not going to work.
And that almost worries me, kind of.
They hired him because there are 30 guys around the NHL bubble that have NHL head coach resumes, right? And so they hired one of those guys instead of maybe hiring a younger guy or somebody that's coming up, maybe a college coach or somebody out of the American League or whatever. They got Laviolette, who, yeah, he's got a cup ring and he's been to the final a couple times with different teams or whatever. I think the game, I don't think he understands the roster that he has. I don't think he understands how they're going to have to play to even get out of a first round playoff series, because that's what they're looking at. Like, how do you get out of the first round again?
Well, and especially for all these teams this year, it is going to be a struggle, to get out of the first round. But you're playing against, even in the playoffs, the first couple of rounds, you're playing against the same teams you played all year.
Yeah, it's
so
right,
so the gimmicks, so the gimmicks and the little tactics you do
doesn't work.
They're either going to know it inside and out by the time you play them, or if they haven't been able to stop you, they'll figure something out in the playoffs one way or another. They'll figure it out pretty quick. So if you can't add wrinkles to your game or even adopt some other things, later in the season, or change stuff up, it's going to be a big issue.
You can't go to a team where the core players are all in their mid-30s and say we're going to play in straight lines and be fast. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Sorry, they're old. It's not how it works.
It's not going to work well for them, but we'll see. But speaking of, funny how we're talking about like old roster, new coach. What about a very young roster and a very old player, with Joe Thornton ending up on the, granted, it's practice lines. Joe Thornton is playing with Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews under Sheldon Keefe on the first line.
I don't see him being able to keep up.
Yeah, I don't.
He's always been a slower skater. Those guys are fast. There's no way he's going to be able to keep up with them.
Yeah.
Got nothing really to say against that.
Yeah, it's wrong.
You don't.
Well, no, because that was my initial reaction to it, was when all the Toronto media started posting all the stuff about, oh, Joe Thornton's skating with Marner and Matthews. I was like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But then I was thinking about it and I was like, well, what if he brings a certain intelligence to their game? Like, he's been around, he knows what he has to do as an older and slower player. Maybe his brain makes up for his feet.
So maybe it's like beneficial to slow down the play?
Not so much that, but maybe he's smart enough to kind of be in the right places at the right times, despite, what the other two guys are doing. As bad as that sounds, but
I fully agree with that point. And also to kind of lump onto that, even though I have my own reservations about that, top three, Joe Thornton is an elite passer. This is not
Yes.
news. He can pass exceptionally well. So ideally, in a perfect world, what does Austin Matthews really want? He wants the puck in a really good shooting situation. And Joe Thornton turned Jonathan Chichu into a 50-goal scorer. Albeit a few years ago, we knew who kind of worked that out. So having said that,
what year was that?
yeah. So having said that, I mean, if anyone could really, I wouldn't say elevate Matthews because Matthews is special in his own right, but if anyone could get him the puck in more situations, it's going to be someone like a Joe Thornton. Their second line looks really good with VC, Nylander, and Tavares. I think that's a solid line. And also for a guy like Jimmy VC, where he came into the NHL, he had a lot of kind of fanfare. He didn't really do much. So this is his second, or technically third team, because he was in Nashville. Then he went to Buffalo, then New York. So this is actually like his fourth stop, technically, even though he never played for Nashville. This could be a good chance for VC on a very talented second line with the Leafs to make something up too. Leafs, I think everyone's going to give them the Canadian division crown, but I wouldn't be shocked if another team comes and steals it from them.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah,
You never know.
The Flames. Yeah.
Actually, the Flames, I think.
Dude.
I think the Oilers, I think this year, I think this is a really big make or break year for that team because you have McDavid and Draisaitl. Both have won league MVPs at this point. They've only been in the playoffs, once, and then twice if you count last year and their time in Edmonton. That's not cutting it. Well, really funny, on the NHL news, I just saw Matt Martin was re-signed to a 4-year deal from the Islanders.
No.
That's stellar.
Why?
Why? How
Great.
much? How much?
1.5 AAV.
That's too much.
That's way
too
too
much.
much.
So, don't the Islanders have a restricted free agent by the name of Mathew Barzal?
I think they do. Don't they need to get that guy signed?
They absolutely do.
I think that's a big key piece of their team, isn't it?
They signed Matt Martin
Before Mathew
Before
Barzal.
Matthew
Barzal.
Barzal.
Huh.
Yeah.
Now they have cap issues, right? So
Right. Well, I
Why
was
do
going to
they have
say
cap issues, though?
how much cap room do they have?
they have.
Why are they close to?
I
got
want
cap
to say
issues?
they're
Why?
just under $4 million free.
$4 million. That's not going to sign Barzal. Who do they have up there that's making too much money? So we had this conversation.
I don't know how long we can keep this joke going here.
Yeah.
I feel like you want me to say Anders Lee.
So all the group texts earlier today, we got into this, and we're about to just destroy the New York Islanders contract situation here. So now Islanders fans, we apologize, but
No, we don't.
really should be asking for Lou Lamoriello and Garth Snow to be apologizing.
Before we start in on Lou, we have to recognize Lou Lamoriello's accomplishments. Okay. He did take a New Jersey Devils franchise from nothing, essentially, to 3 Stanley Cups. Okay. He was, and not many people, I think, remember this. He was instrumental in resolving the 04-05 lockout.
Yep.
And getting hockey started again. So the guy has been around. He was instrumental in college hockey. He definitely, I don't know if saved is the right word, but he saved the Devils franchise, got them to the pinnacle, got them to be, perennial contenders, helped the NHL get through a troubled time, and that's great.
Agreed. What has he done in the last 3 years?
Continue.
Let's just take a little glance over at Cap Friendly. And the big contract that really jumps out at us is Anders Lee at the very top. He's a 30-year-old this year. Well, he will be 31 this year. I think it's in July or something like that. He turns 31. but he's still signed through the 2025-26 season, when he will then be a UFA. He's currently and will be for the next 6 seasons, making $7 million a year, hitting the cap. AAV. He'll hit their cap for $7 million a year.
Right.
And we have to ask, why? Why is this guy going to be a 36-year-old making $7 million a year? I think you looked into some of the stats here, Eric. So you could probably.
It's not only that. Okay. It's a somewhat aging roster. They have 6 players that are going to be making $5 million plus AAV
until the 2023-24 season.
Right. And they're all around 30 years old now, right? And as we know, we're all players in beer league. You hit 30s, the body tends to slow down. And in the NHL, it's nothing different. Not as rapid, obviously, but those
rapid
guys
enough
start
to make an impact on your game, unfortunately.
Right. They start to slow down and they start to decline. And when you're paying that much of your cap room to keep those guys on the roster, maybe that's not the best idea.
We don't have an awful lot of room for the D guys.
And the other thing, the other thing that's kind of, I would say, somewhat concerning, because I know in some organizations like the assistant general manager or the president of hockey operations, they either handle the cap situation, the general manager kind of deals with other things. They all do help compile the roster, but some teams do have other people working on the cap and the contracts and how it all pieces together. If you look at the last couple of contracts they signed somewhat recently, July 1st, 2019 was Simeon Varlamov for 4 years. John Gabriel Peugeot was signed February 24th, 2020 for 6 years. Ryan Pollock was signed somewhat recently, November 2020 for 2 years, so that's taking up money. Jordan Eberle was June 14th, 2019 for 5 years. Brock Nelson, May of 2019 for 6 years. And then what we were talking about with Anders Lee, 2019 in July. And did he not kind of forecast in his mind, like, oh, Barzal's coming up? He really is the New York Islanders.
The future of the franchise.
He really is.
Right. He is.
That's alarming.
Right. He is the Islanders going forward. Like, that is the marquee piece for them. And he has Anders Lee. Lou Lamoriello has Anders Lee locked up in a 7-year deal at $7 million AAV. Like, you are not going to sign Barzal. You're not. He's going to hold out.
As he's
already holding out as an
player.
RFA. He should be making at least 7, if not more.
More like 9. Especially with some of the guys that have been signed recently. He's probably in the 9 to 10 mil range.
He very, very well could be. Very well could be.
And they do not have the money to get that guy signed up. There's no way they're going to do it.
So
they'd have to buy out. They'd have to salary retention and move guys. They have to tear the whole thing down.
Right.
In order to sign the future of the franchise.
They've got to move other guys. They got to figure something else out. And I don't think they can. The way that they have some of these other big contracts structured, they're not going to be able to move guys. A lot of those guys in that, those sort of half a dozen players that are $5 million plus, they have no move, no trade clauses.
Yeah.
So you got to figure all that out. Like, I don't know how it works for them. And so you're in a situation where you have just under probably, I think it's $4 million and cap space left. You're not going to sign Barzal. Are you going to make a move, or is he going to hold out and not play the season? Like,
and
oh man.
And I know there was massive concern, and I know I'm a William Nylander guy. There was a lot of concern when he went essentially to the last possible second to sign that deal, because he signed in December, and then all he needed to do was wait till that. At the time, it was January. He could have gone and played overseas or something like that, or I think maybe depending on, because it was so late, he may not have even been able to only play in a select handful of leagues with trade agreements to the NHL. But
Yeah.
Nylander could have held out the rest of the year and become a free agent. Now, he did get signed at, some people say that's a lot of money, but if you look at what he produces / could on paper, there's a lot of value there. And Barzal probably wants a contract similar to that. But the Islanders are about $3.5 million short of that deal.
Easy,
currently.
at least.
Easily.
And Barzal, like you were saying, Rigsby, if he holds out in a shortened year, it doesn't necessarily hurt him.
No.
Because the NHL does want to start in a normal pattern next year in October. We're in January right now. So, yeah, it's 10 months. It's a long way away. But if he becomes a free agent by holding out.
Right. Think about the training calendar, right? So we're already in January. They're going to start the season next
10
week.
days.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So he says, you know what? I'm gonna sit out for, what is it, a 56 game
plus
thing,
playoffs, yeah.
season.
whatever it is.
56 plus playoffs, yeah.
Probably going to go into June-ish, right? Late June. So depending on how the schedule goes, maybe early July. So he sits out, maybe considers Europe. I don't know. And then just trains and goes into July, August as a free agent and gets his money from whoever can pay, right? And could give him term.
I find it funny, Lou is showing a lot of loyalty to a guy like Matt Martin. Granted, maybe he's great in the locker room. I don't know how many wins he's going to help you with, but Barzal is the guy.
4 years.
Yeah,
though,
4 years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
4 years for him. And he is he's over 30.
Yeah.
I want to say he's like 31, 32, something like that. Johnny's going to look it up.
He's 31.
4 years at 1.5 for a guy that's had what? 14
points a season. 5 times out of his 10 seasons. Oh,
yeah. I don't know about that.
And all you're trying to do there, I think, is keep that best fourth line in hockey together, the Cizikas, Clutterbuck, Martin line together. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
You need to score goals. And look, I'm a Caps guy. Yeah, Islanders swept the Caps in the first round of the bubble playoffs. I get it. But what did they do after that? Nothing. Because they can't score.
With Barzal.
You need Barzal. You need all the help you can get.
I have to take this time to point out, if we're talking about contracts and the New York Islanders, we have to mention that they gave the best sports contract in the world.
Nope.
It's Bobby Bonilla.
I know where you're going, but
second
you're wrong.
best.
It's
Second
best.
It's the second best. All right, fine.
What is it?
Fine.
What is it? July
Fine.
10th? It's Bobby Bonilla Day?
July 1st, every year, it's Bobby Bonilla Day.
Bobby Bonilla Day, that's right.
Best NHL
I know where you're going.
Best NHL contract. They are still paying him $1.5 million.
But wait a minute.
And will until 2029.
Yeah.
Was it
for the deal that came out in 2006? Sorry.
Yes.
Was it DiPietro or Yashin?
No.
Yashin's
Which one?
or
all the
something
way.
like that, but
DiPietro
DiPietro
all
is
the
definitely
way,
the
dude.
best NHL
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah, I think they're done with the action.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
He had such nice turtlenecks, man. It's ridiculous. So if we hold on, that means in gold medal games we are 4-0 against Canada.
What'd you say? 4-0 against Canada? It just showed a stat that we were 1-3
in gold medal games.
In gold medal games.
Oh, okay. All right.
Get it right, Aaron.
I got it wrong.
We beat him in Saskatoon. We beat him in. There was another one we beat him because one was a John Carlson year. One was like the Patrick O'Sullivan, Marc-Andre Fleury gaff, and I forget the other one. Troy Terry. So that's 3.
Look at Spencer Knight's pads. Holy shit. Those are sick.
These are going to be the pads that defeat start the or end the great maple syrup crisis of 2020.
How far along are you, John?
I have
The game-
25 seconds left in the game.
I have 138.
That was probably after
145.
I'm at 1 minute.
John, did you get a modem?
Yeah, I finally
Get 'em,
switched my
Morgan.
AOL.
This game's over. It's over. Get the medals out.
People on my stream are asking, how do you convert 2 to 0 in metric system? And on that note, I think we're going to call this episode a wrap. Thanks, everybody, for listening. If you like our show, please tell your friends so we can grow our listener base. Be sure to join us on Discord and follow us on our social media accounts. And before we end the episode, we just want to include one more thing for you. However, this content may be disturbing to listeners who enjoy snow and maple syrup. Listener discretion is advised.